Welcome to the First Read Ultimate Spider-Man podcast, where we break down Bendis' iconic run on Ultimate Spider-Man, issues 1 through 160 in Earth 1610. I'm Zach, and with me as always is John.
And I like to think of us more as, you being the Flash Thompson to my Kong.
So I'm not in the episode at all.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, you're a character in another book.
Yeah.
Or the Mary Jane to my Gwen Stacy, I think.
I don't know that I like that either.
Are these friends? Is any of this working?
Yeah, I think we're choosing I don't think those are analogous to us.
I'll keep thinking.
Yeah.
How's it going, Zach? What you been up to for the last week?
I just saw your cat trying to eat the mic.
Yep, Percy's here. He's saying hello.
Hi, Percy.
Ooh, speaking of which, how's it? Let's do our weekly kitten talk. How's it going?
You're here on the First Read Ultimate Cat podcast.
Yeah.
It's going really well, actually. Jubilee.
For anyone joining us, Zach has cats named Storm, Rogue, and he just got a new cat to join the family named Jubilee.
Yep. And if you're starting here with episode 11, and this is the first you're hearing of this, what are you doing? Go back to the beginning. No, it's good. So we've actually had Jubes out with the other girls for a while now. We had been letting them roam when we were around the house just so we could watch and make sure they didn't fight. And we got confident enough at a certain point that she's totally integrated as a member of the family. And I get the feeling they don't love it necessarily. They still prefer each other over her, but they get that she's here to stay.
With it?
Yeah,
nice.
They're not causing problems. So she's
nice.
Officially in. She's not going anywhere.
That's excellent. No big fights or hissing matches.
Not recently. Nope.
Nice. That's the dream, I feel like, when you get new cats.
I am living the dream. I've got 3 cats.
Yeah, living the dream. 3 cats.
The only way this could get better is when I get the 4th.
3 cats and a Spider-Man podcast. What more could you ask for?
I don't know. Not much.
Well, speaking of that Spider-Man podcast, I think we're on our last Marvel team-up issues today. It's kind of bittersweet.
The very last one, yep. We are after this, we're just gonna be on one series. I don't know how we ever managed that.
Yeah, we got away from that really quickly.
I mean, it kind of worked out to where I checked today, it was something like 5 of the first 6 issues were all in the main series, and then 4 of the last 5 episodes have been in this team up series. So it's kind of we focused on one for a minute and then we focused on the other.
Yeah. I like it though. I've had fun with it. I'm excited to talk about these two.
I have too. I'm glad you're having fun with it because it would be really embarrassing if my co-host was ready to tap out after episode 10.
I'm like, this is a 2 out of 10. This is garbage.
Oh God.
I got more important things to be doing with my life than reading these.
You're telling me this series runs for another 10 years?
Okay, well, before we get into it, should we let the Better Business Bureau do their thing and just cut over to them real fast? I know they've always got some good things to say.
Before we do that, I do feel like there is one thing to mention on this pod. It'll be pretty timely when this episode gets out.
I'm very excited to hear. I'm in suspense.
Yeah. So Marvel announced something pretty big this past week. Not sure if the gravity of it is something you understand, but the Ultimate Universe is coming back.
I don't understand the gravity of that. I know it's been all over the Twitter sphere. But I don't see it. Yeah.
To you, it never went away.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, it did. I hate to say it, but when we say issues 1 through 160 in Earth 1610, it's because Earth 1610 doesn't go on forever.
Oh, so
So
so did it like get annihilated at the end of the run, or did it just stop having things made for it? Or do you
y-
not want to spoil it?
yes,
Okay. We'll get
basically,
there.
yeah, basically the Earth and that we're looking at in these issues has not existed since 2015, and this summer, uh, one of the best writers of comics, probably the most popular writer in the
Yeah,
last
we all
10
know him.
years,
BMB, Brian Michael
Jonathan
Bendis.
Jonathan Hickman is bringing back the Ultimate Universe, and from there, we don't know where it's going to go. Maybe we get more Ultimate Spider-Man.
Well, I am Zach, I can't help but think that this podcast had something to do with that news. I mean, the timing just seems a little coincidental to me.
I'm not saying we precipitated this or got the ball rolling or that Marvel saw your guys' reaction to us and thought we need to capitalize on this, but we did start probably around the time that they would have had to have started production on the first issue
And
because we
and
already
I
know they have some of it written.
and I am now remembering I did get an email from a Jay Hickman just kind of asking me for like my thoughts or opinions on the, and I just thought it was kind of spam. So I just but I now that you mention it, I don't know. Maybe I'll reply to that.
So, here in a couple weeks, they're doing like a Zoom meeting for the 60th anniversary of the X-Men, and they're going to have a bunch of important X-Men creators on it. And as a Marvel Unlimited subscriber, I was able to sign up for this Zoom meeting, and one of the people is Jonathan Hickman, and they're going to have a Q&A. And I know I'm supposed to keep it X-Men related, but I'm going to see if I can participate in that Q&A and maybe figure something out about this ultimate situation because I'm pretty excited about it.
So is this going to be a spider? Is this like only is the Ultimate Universe like only the Spider-Man, or is it like
No, dude,
everyone is in it?
they had an Ultimate X-Men, they had Ultimate Fantastic Four, they had Ultimates, they had crossover events and everything.
Uh, okay. So we're just reading Ultimate Spider-Man, but just
That's
like we
correct.
have the Ultimate Spider-Man run, there's other Ultimate runs for the other heroes.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, that is exciting.
And
I
so
feel like I sound like a real comic noob here.
no,
I'm
you're
like,
good.
so they have comics for other characters?
This is why you're on the pod because some people, don't know, they don't follow it, but they'd like to, and it's inaccessible, it's something that they think is hard to get into, and we want to make sure that it's not that. We want to make sure it's something that people can get into and enjoy.
Yeah, well
So,
said.
yeah. So we had talked about maybe reading the Ultimates. I think we should get that on the schedule, and I think we should try and get an Ultimates episode out maybe around June when the Ultimate Universe starts coming out again.
Well, I wonder if we did the math on like, if we do what, 3 issues a week, would we be anywhere close to being done by the time the new, like, I wonder when we would catch up with the new series.
It'd take a while.
It would take a while. Okay.
And we don't know yet that there's going to be a new Ultimate Spider-Man series. I'm just speculating that there
Oh, okay.
might be. They've announced I think it's like 4 issues, but for how much they have to do, I think that's just going to lay the groundwork for more.
Yeah. Do you think Brian Michael Bendis will come back?
Dude, I don't know, he might. They
Is he
haven't
still
said it
doing
yet.
stuff?
He's working at DC right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's probably so upset that he can't come back.
Well, I'm sure he could. He's, the master of his own ship.
You don't think he's like under contract for DC or anything like that? I have
I don't
no
know
idea
how it
how that kind of stuff would work, how those
Yeah,
contracts would work.
I know he was capable of leaving his contract with Marvel to go to DC. I know
Yeah.
a lot of creatives kind of flip flop between both companies.
Oh, okay.
Even if there was like some rule that he had to wait 6 months or something, he could do it if he wanted.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting, and we
Hmm.
can remember that for later this episode. This is something interesting.
Yes.
We just gave it to him early today.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of another interesting thing that made me think of, just to delay getting into the episode, you talked about people having to wait like 6 months before working. Did you know? I'm pretty sure that's why they haven't recast any of the X-Men yet in the Marvel universe, is because they are not allowed to recast the X-Men for 5 years after their last movie that came out.
I saw
So,
that.
or it was something like that. You know what I'm talking about? So even though
Yeah.
they have had the rights to it for a couple of years now, they're not allowed to recast people until a certain date. So that's probably why, the only X-Men you've seen is Professor X, who was already Patrick Stewart.
Right. Yeah. And why Hugh
And
Jackman's going
Quicksilver
to be.
and
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
kind of. And why Hugh Jackman's going to be in the next Deadpool movie and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see who they recast as.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have a lot of theories. We're kind of in the height of, logging into Reddit or Twitter and seeing some, you know, Photoshop of an actor in
Ooh.
X-Men stuff.
Who is it?
I've seen everyone. I think the one that a lot of people seem to really like or hate or be talking about is Kiki Palmer as Rogue, and I don't know if I have an opinion on that yet.
I don't at all. I like her. She's what do I know her from? She was
Disney,
in Nope, wasn't she? She was the
wasn't she a Disney child actor? Like, wasn't she in that jump roping movie?
I have no idea. I'm out of my depths.
I feel like she did some
I think
Disney
you're right.
stuff
I
when we
think
were
she did
kids.
too. Yeah. Nice. Well, good stuff. Should we
Yeah.
should we get into it before we lose anyone?
Yep.
Okay, quick word from the Better Business Bureau. Thank you, BBB.
Every business says they're better, but the ones that earn and display the BBB seal back it up. It instantly identifies businesses that are committed to operating with integrity, honoring promises, and telling the truth. Makes you wonder why every business doesn't have it. So look for it, because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
All right, excellent once again from the Better Business Bureau. Don't get scammed, guys.
I think that message just keeps getting better every week.
I agree. Definitely better than when we would baloney our ways through it early on.
The Dark Ages.
Um, so we are doing Spider-Man versus Shang-Chi today, and I think that is how you pronounce it. Now whether I'll try to do that correctly the whole time, but I think that's what it is. Shang-Chi.
I was
Zach,
gonna
do
say
you have any?
I was gonna say Shang-Chi,
I
but
know that's like what the American way is, but I'm pretty sure when the movie came out, I heard it was Shang-Chi.
probably I don't know.
Well, I kind of feel silly saying it that way.
We
So
want to
how
be.
let's decide right now how we're gonna say it.
I think if I say I'm gonna pronounce it your way, I'm gonna end up messing up and saying it the way I hear other Americans saying it. I'm sorry.
I'm listening to a thing right now on it. Shang-Chi. It's Shang-Chi.
Okay,
That's
I'm
not
gonna.
that hard. That's not that
It's
hard to
it's
remember.
it's not that hard.
Shang-Chi. Yeah.
It's just that I've heard other people say it wrong so
Mhm.
many times. But we're
Well,
gonna try and get it right.
Yep. So this is Ultimate Marvel Team Up issue 15, story by the incomparable Brian Michael Bendis, penciled by Rick Mays, inked by Jason Martin, and brush art by Andy Lee, colored by Transparency Digital, lettered by Chris Eliopoulos. Spider-Man and the Hands of Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. I was excited for this one, Zach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him except from the movie that came out, most recently. So that is my only experience with Shang-Chi.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm in the same boat. He was not really a big Marvel character. He was kind of like a forgotten, remnant of the 70s. Um, a lot of people liked his book back then, but I don't think it was like, a bestseller or anything. I don't think it got reprinted very much. So I think there's kind of been a Shang-Chi revival in recent years.
Yeah.
And I think this might have like started that.
Well, that's really cool.
Or at least been pretty early on in it.
The actor that played him, maybe his name's like Sima Lu. No, I
Yeah.
have to look it up. Is okay. But he like tweeted at Marvel to like make a Shang-Chi movie before it happened. And then
Ooh.
that ended up he was like, Marvel, call me, like, let's make this movie. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he seems like a pretty cool guy on Twitter.
Yeah. So we open with an old Chinese fairy tale that's translated into English. And I didn't look up if this was a real Chinese. Zach shaking his head. Did you look it up?
It's definitely not real. It's
too similar to Spider-Man and Shang-Chi.
It's like literally his exact situation.
Yeah. Well, it says an old Chinese fairy tale translated into English, but when we get to these parts, I'm just going to read them straight out of the comic because not that much.
That's a storytelling thing. That's not a real thing.
So once upon a time, there was a spider and a prince. The spider watched the young prince walking through the tall weeds and asked him, "Noble prince, why are you so far from home?" The prince admired this 8-legged creature and said, "My father is the ruler of all this land, but he is a mean and evil ruler who treats his people as if they were animals on a farm. I'm walking to find a land he does not rule over, and that is where I will live." But young prince asked the spider, "One day you will rule all this land just like your father does." "No," said the prince, "I will walk until the earth ends to escape such a life." "But why?" asked the spider. And that's all we get at the moment.
Shang-Chi is apparently a flat earther. He's going to find him the edge.
Shang-Chi canceled. The earth is round. And I assumed right away that must have been a reference to like Shang-Chi's origin story, because in the movie, that's what his father was, like some evil warlord that Shang-Chi kind of like came to America to escape. Yes. So I figured that was the same thing. So we then cut to Chinatown. A woman is stepping out of her car. She's got nice clothing on. She gives a generous tip to the taxi driver who drove her. The woman's name is Leiko. And we learned that because she's greeted by this woman that she calls Auntie, and they kind of like call out to each other from down the street. They're excited to see each other. And as they move towards each other, Leiko is kind of ambushed by a group of guys. Maybe they seem like they were like trying to help her with her bags, but maybe they were trying to flirt with her, or also maybe they were just trying to jump her. I thought it was kind of hard to tell from the way it was drawn if she was like getting mugged or if she was just like annoyed with them. Did you have any problem with that? I think later on we learned she was probably getting mugged, but I kind of felt it was hard to tell.
Yeah, she looks more miffed than like scared or anything, so I think that's where you're getting it from.
Yeah.
She takes it really well getting robbed, but they're robbing her. They say, "Can we help you with your bags?" But then they knock her to the ground and they run off with her stuff.
And they run past a nearby like shop worker who works in a fish shop, and he just starts beating them up with his broom. And he's smacking them around. He's got a couple big fish that he's smacking them around with.
That first panel is pretty funny. Where you just see the robber running and he's got his head turned and he's laughing as he's looking backwards. And he's saying, "Ha ha, ha 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 ha." And then just the very next panel, all you see is like a broom hit him in the face.
And it just says whack.
Yeah, that was good comedic timing.
So I think we can assume that this is Shang-Chi. That's what I assumed. So Leiko goes to thank the man, but her Auntie Lee is clearly trying to just usher her away. And the man doesn't really respond to her thank you. He just kind of like ignores it, and she's like confused about what's going on and what just happened. And we see one more panel of an older man, I'm guessing the fish shop owner, kind of yelling at the younger man who just helped fight off the attackers, who we presume is Shang-Chi. So then we get a quick backstory on the title page, and it's exactly what the Chinese fairy tale was kind of like. Shang-Chi's father runs a criminal empire, and Shang was trained as a living weapon, but he's renounced his father and he now uses his fighting skills to protect others. And then we get a little bit more of the Chinese fairy tale. Zach, should I just keep reading it? That's what I said I was going to do in my notes, so I don't have notes over it.
You can't back out now. You've already said it on air.
Yeah. So the spider watched as the determined prince walked away from his homeland and his birthright. The prince never looked back and never broke his stride. The spider asked, "But young prince, what will you do in this new land?" "It matters not," whispered the prince. "I will earn my way in the new world as a man, not as a prince." So we get a little bit more of that fairy tale. And then we see Peter and Mary Jane walking out of school talking about, I believe, the play Hamlet that they just read in one of their classes. And MJ thinks that the writing was bad. She's like, "I can't understand what's going on." And Peter says, "Well, the writing might be inaccessible and hard to understand, but the characters and the story hold true over the test of time." And the reason, yeah, Zach, go on.
I was really glad once it became clear they were talking about Hamlet, because you just see that they're in Chinatown and she's saying, "Oh, I couldn't understand the language." And I thought she was being racist.
That's funny. I thought they were talking about the Chinese fairy tale poem that we were reading with them.
Oh, that would be funny if
which
we think it's just exposition, but it's actually something that the characters are like seeing.
That's kind of what I thought was happening, and I actually had to go back and read it like 2 or 3 times and be like, "What are they talking about here?" And then I think you find out it's Hamlet, like in another couple of panels or something like that. So MJ is kind of getting upset that Peter is, talking all smart to her, and he like understands Hamlet and everything. And she says, "You're already Mr. Science Guy, and now you're smart at everything." And she thinks he's gotten smarter since the spider bite. And Zach, I specifically made a comment on this panel that I really disliked the way it was drawn, and it totally took me out of the story. And it is on page.
That's funny because I dislike the way this scene is written, but I'm fine with how it's drawn.
Well, I'm about to complain about that too. So, but it's on number 22. It's the last panel on 22. If you're looking at it, I think they just look way out of proportion, and MJ looks nothing like what we've seen MJ look like before.
Page 22?
Page 12 out of 22, sorry.
Okay.
And it's the very last panel on it.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a new artist take on her. I can get how it would look different,
But so the drawing is one thing, and then so you don't like the way that part is written?
I don't like the implication that she's too dumb for Hamlet. We've been told before in the main series that she's smart too. Liz Allen calls her Brainy Janie. I think she should be able to understand Hamlet.
I guess I never really thought of that. You are right about that, but also Shakespeare is hard to read unless you're really going for it. But you're right. She's smart. But here's what I don't like about it, because as we move on to the next page, Mary Jane starts kind of giving Peter a hard time for no reason. She's just like, this is what she says, word for word. She goes, because he's kind of complaining about this spider bite, but he doesn't really even say that much. He just says like he hasn't been smarter since he got bit by the spider. He thinks it's the opposite. And then she's like, everybody's life has crap in it. Everyone's. You think you're some special case, but you're not. Keep on whining, but you've got the same amount of problems as the rest of us. And it just comes out of nowhere. Peter wasn't even like complaining about anything. She was the one complaining, and then she just kind of like jumped on him about it.
Yeah, that seemed kind of out of character. Like,
Yeah.
we've already seen in the main series instances where something is bothering her and she holds on to it for a while and doesn't want to tell him what it is. I almost feel like I've told you about the Marvel method, right?
Maybe, but you have
It's
to
like
remind me.
kind of a way of making comics that Marvel was famous for early on, where they do the art first and then basically the writer's job is to fill in like captions. It almost
Ah,
makes me wonder if that's how this story was constructed and Bendis had to make sense of like their facial expressions and the way the scene is set. I don't think
well,
that
that
necessarily makes it better, but it's like the only explanation I can have to why the same writer is having the characterization flip-flop so much.
one. What's weird is the panel, the way it's drawn. Like from what Mary Jane is saying, you think she's like giving some real attitude, and like it comes out of nowhere. But then the way the panel's drawn, it almost looks like you could easily replace that speech bubble with a bubble of her saying something like happy to him, and it would even make more sense because I think she looks like she's kind of smiling in it. But I don't know. We don't have to sit and hammer this one scene.
Right. But
But
it is a
Peter,
confusing scene.
yeah, it definitely just seems off a little bit. Um, but Peter does remind her that someone with metal arms did just try to kill him, and she's like, "Okay, that is something that other people don't really deal with."
Hey, how about that? Our pacing in the main series and the Ultimate Team Ups finally kind of synced up.
Oh, that was the last one. Yes, this was planned.
Oh yeah.
So just then, as they're walking by, Peter and Mary Jane notice a group of Chinese gangsters with the muggers from the beginning. And they're surrounding Shang-Chi, and they're about to take turns just beating him up with the baseball bat. And Shang-Chi is being beaten up pretty badly, and MJ is kind of looking on in horror. Peter went to go change into his spider outfit as soon as they saw this. And the muggers are about to go for Shang-Chi's kneecap, and they're going to do some real permanent damage. And Shang-Chi's able to kind of push them away. And then we get some really funny, I thought, back and forth panels of Shang-Chi beating up the muggers like one at a time, and then Peter slowly changing into his Spider-Man outfit. And it goes back and forth with that like 4 different times. So the whole time Shang-Chi's winning this fight by himself, Peter's like changing slowly to go and help him.
So I'm looking at page 17, and it's very funny because there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 11 panels on this page, and only 2 of them are of Peter changing. So, like, in the amount of time it takes him to put on a glove, Shang-Chi has like laid out like 3 or 4 hits, and then as he's like putting his mask on and like running, he's done like another 6 punches.
Yeah, he like puts his boot on, and Shang-Chi's like
He's
takes
just
4
moving.
different people.
He's just moving like impossibly fast.
Yeah, I thought that was very good. So Peter or Spider-Man shows up just as Shang-Chi finishes beating everyone up. He's got blood dripping from him. He was just in this big fight, and Spidey's just on the wall, and he goes, So you got this one all by yourself then, huh? Okay then. And then he just jumps away. And Mary Jane is just watching all this happen. And she says, oh man, he's going to whine about that for a month. So it's almost like, as we're recapping this, it's almost like they did that whole intro scene just to set up this joke with Mary Jane about him whining about it, which is a funny joke.
But I think it would have stood on its own too.
Even if, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I think you're right. I think that was probably the intent, that there would be this payoff for it.
Yeah. So the woman from the beginning, Leiko, who he helped from the mugging, she is also watching from the window. She asks her auntie about the shop worker, and the auntie jokes with her about liking bad boys, and the woman doesn't really understand because she's like, well, he seemed the opposite of a bad boy. You know, he saved me from getting mugged. And the auntie just tells her it's best to stay away from him because he's standing up to all these idiot like gangsters. I think that's what she calls them, who run the neighborhood. Or she said drug-addled idiots. That's what she said, who run the neighborhood, and eventually they're going to come and kill him for standing up to them. And she just doesn't want Leiko getting caught in the crossfire. The auntie says she doesn't know his name, and Leiko says it's Shang-Chi, and I found him like that. And she snaps her fingers. So obviously we know that this woman had a bit more up her sleeve than she was letting on, which now that I'm thinking about it makes sense why she probably wasn't scared when she was getting mugged. She was just annoyed because she was like, well, I could easily take on all these guys, but I have to have my cover, kind of.
Or she set herself up to get mugged, trying to draw him out.
Oh, that's also really good. Yeah, that's probably what it actually was.
I wish that had been, maybe made more clear in the text, but
yeah,
there's a lot here that maybe they just needed a few more pages to flesh out. And I think that's especially clear in the next issue.
Yeah. So then we finish the Chinese poem to end the issue. And it says, when the evil emperor heard that his only son had run away, he called for his most cunning soldier to bring him home. But the soldier questioned the difficult order. Sir, the prince is strong of will. What do I do if he doesn't want to come home? Do what you must, mighty warrior, for this embarrassment to my kingdom cannot go unpunished. To be continued. So, do you think this is supposed to be Shang-Chi's sister? Or just a random warrior? And I only say that because I know in the movie there's like a brother and a sister.
You might be right. Like I said, I don't know that much about Shang-Chi in the comics.
Yeah.
What I know is basically who his father is, which is not who he is in the movie. But that's about it. Let me look this up.
Well, they don't say it in this or the next one. So, but what did you think of this issue?
Sorry, give me just a second.
Zach's looking stuff
finding
up.
out if that is her name.
Dead air.
No, it's not his sister.
Good. That was a good use of time.
Yeah.
What did you think?
It was all right. I liked some of the things it set up. I think obviously the fight scene and Peter changing was very funny. The art style didn't bug me as much as it did for you. I think it's weird. I'm not an anime or manga kind of guy, but this was kind of in that style.
Well,
and the X-Men team up was definitely in that style, and both of those kind of worked for me.
Oh, and I think I did comment on both of those, didn't I?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't dislike the artwork. I didn't love it, but it only took me out of it in that one particular panel. And that's what I wrote here. I said I actually really like this issue. I really liked the Chinese poem being weaved throughout.
Yes.
to kind of connect it to the story. I thought that was really good. I thought it was a little better when I thought maybe it was a real Chinese fairy tale. That would have been really cool if it was.
What are the
It would have
odds?
been, I know, it would have been perfect for a Shang-Chi Spider-Man team up if it was a real one. Um, so I really liked it. That fight scene was great. The artwork wasn't my favorite. And MJ in general, I didn't really like this issue. I don't think she was characterized very well. And that was even before you said that thing about how you didn't like her characterization. But it didn't annoy me enough to hurt the issue. So I gave this one a pretty good score. I gave it $8.50 out of a $10 tip for the taxi driver.
Okay. I like it.
If
We've
you can think of a better rating system, then
I was gonna say fish slaps, but we've never had a
that's a good
monetary
one. Yeah.
system, so I like that.
Okay.
I just realized what it is about this manga style artwork that I like, because I went back through it and it doesn't do much for me except for when we see like Peter and MJ. And I think what I really like about that style is how like young people look. Like I think it just suits like teen, lighthearted,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
dramedy kind of
And that's
storytelling.
that's a couple times now where I don't like the art because I think it makes them look too young, and then you're like, I like it because it makes them look their age.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
like, yeah, that's true, I guess.
because
They just look like teenagers.
they're not even like older teenagers. They're not even like
There's like
16, 17,
yeah,
18. They're like 15. Like they
yeah,
could be freshmen.
yeah. Yeah. So how much are you tipping the taxi driver?
I'm going to tip the taxi driver Indiana minimum wage. I'm going to give it a 750.
750 out of 10.
Yeah.
That's still, I think that's still pretty good.
This was a very
Yeah.
respectable issue.
I definitely liked it. And I was also very excited to get into this next issue.
All right. Good segue. Good segue. See you teeing me up. Let me get up to my note. So, issue 16 is written by Brian Michael Bendis, art by Rick Mays, colored by Transparency Digital, and lettered by Chris Iliopoulos. So, we open on Leiko from the first issue giving a monologue at gunpoint. And we can't see who's holding the guns, but she tells them, "It's okay, you can put your weapons down. I'm here with an offer of chance." And she explains who Shang-Chi is, and that in order to defeat him in hand-to-hand combat, it would take a small army to attack him all at once. And she says his father is a very powerful man, and he wants his son back alive, but broken. And anyone who delivers Shang-Chi to his father will be rewarded with the top position on the entire East Coast in his smuggling business. And our point of view pulls back, and we see that she's talking to a room of at least 50 men.
And
And
we can already tell Zach doesn't care about the Chinese fairy tale as much as I do because he skipped the start of it.
okay, I'm sorry. Let me respect.
No, it's not that much. It
It's
was
a beautiful history. Once upon a time, there was a spider and a prince. The spider watched curiously as the wayward prince walked farther and farther away from his father's empire. The spider asked the stoic prince, "But why do you hate your father so much as to abandon his love, his wealth, and his kingdom? How does a prince learn to hate his own father so?" The prince did not answer.
wow, we needed that.
Yeah. So the scene changes, and we see that MJ and Peter are kind of lying down in opposite directions, so their heads are like near each other. And MJ is telling Peter about how Shang-Chi fought the robbers, and Peter says he needs to learn how to fight like that. And he says the only thing amazing about his fighting ability is how spastic it is. And he tells MJ he's gotten by on a web and a prayer so many times it's embarrassing. Peter.
So did you notice during this conversation, Zach, the panel changed like multiple times, but it was the exact same artwork, but they were just saying different things. So
Yeah,
it's on, yeah.
it's a talking head scene.
Well, I don't think I've ever noticed that before. Like the exact panel, but just with a different like speech bubble. I mean, usually they change that up in
Well,
some way.
I mean, they're. Oh, oh, I see what you're saying.
It is the exact panel, just with different, and that happens again on the next page. It happens again. So this scene in particular, the artwork really bugged me on it because of that. Because there's a couple times where it is the exact same panel, just with different speech bubbles. But also, I I don't like how I guess maybe it was obvious for you that they were both just laying down like in opposite directions. But
You thought
I
she was
thought
hanging like a bat?
I thought at some point we were going to see that Peter was hanging upside down, like it was going to flip, and we were going to see that Peter was hanging upside down because he's Spider-Man. And I found this very like, what are they doing? Who's hanging? Like, why is she framed like she's hanging upside down? And I was like, maybe they're just laying down, but it just made me think about it too much.
You know, I already thought that this issue was rushed, and I think this is damning proof that I'm right. Because when you said, "Oh, it's the same panel," I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, it's framed the same way, and they're just talking or whatever," but they're in different positions and stuff, and that's true for one panel. It's 2 pages that are each 4-panel grids, and in both pages, in the first one,
There's
1
three that are the exact same
there's 3
shot.
that are the same, and in the second one, it's the top 2 panels are the same, and the bottom 2 panels are the same, and I somehow did not notice that.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, thanks, that, I already was gonna be unkind to this issue, and that just made it lose
Ooh,
another point.
ouch.
So, let me figure out where I'm at.
Oh, I'm guessing Peter fights by a web and a prayer.
Yeah. So, Peter is embarrassed that some random fish market employee could fight better than him. And MJ tells him she thinks it's funny that he got all dressed up in his costume and it was already over. And she suggests that he go up to the fish market guy and offer him some money to show Peter some moves. And Peter says he had thought about taking lessons, but he's afraid he'd slip up and show off his powers. And MJ says, no, not as Peter, as Spider-Man. Ask him as Spider-Man. And the scene changes, and we see Shang-Chi taking out the trash, and the old man who owns the fish market approaches him and tells him that he overheard some men talking and that Shang-Chi's father has found out where he is.
And if I could interject for a second, there's a pretty neat transition that to this issue's credit, which it sounds like I probably liked it a little more than you do, just based on what you're saying. But Peter said, or MJ says, you should throw him a 20. You know, when he's like, see if that shop owner will train you. You know, throw him a 20, and then the very next scene is a roll of $20 bills, like being thrown at Shang-Chi's feet. So for a second, you think maybe this is Spider-Man, but then you find out, no, it's the owner who's like paying him his last money and he's saying you need to leave, which is what you were about to say, Zach.
John, I gotta ask, because we had such different experiences reading this, clearly. Are you in the view on Marvel Unlimited where it goes individual panel by individual panel, or do you see the whole page at once?
I am individual panel by individual panel. So
So
the very next one is not him getting the 20 thrown at him. The very next one is him taking out the trash, but then the one after that is a roll of 20s being thrown at his feet.
See, that is funny, and I had not thought about this yet, about how that could be a different reading experience for you than me. That's why you noticed that they weren't changing positions because you were swiping and the text was
And
changing,
yeah.
but to me, I'm just seeing the whole page, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, so they're sitting there, they're talking," and I'm just reading the text. And
Oh,
then
that's interesting.
in this, that joke was lost on me because I've turned the page, and yeah, I see the money get thrown at him, but I also see that it was the old man who threw it.
Oh, so you didn't ever think for 1 second maybe that was Spider-Man
I
throwing
didn't.
it, and yeah, I didn't know that until I actually saw the old man show up, like, 3 pages later for me, but it's just 3 panels later, really.
What's funny to me is that that joke plays better now with modern technology than it would have when this was written, because
Yeah.
no one was reading it on a panel by panel format in 2002.
Oh, that's a good catch. That's why, you know, it comes across different for both of us.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
So, like John alluded, the old man uh, tells Shang-Chi that Shang's father has figured out where he is, and he says, "The bounty on your head is enormous. These men are planning to attack you. I love you, boy, but I need you to go." And we get another exposition page, or, the ancient Chinese fairy tale that says, "But the king's grip on the land was long and wide, and the prince found himself surrounded by mighty warriors whose numbers were many." And we see as Shang-Chi is walking away, trying to leave, a crowd is behind him. And we see that some of the members have balled up fists or boards with nails through them. Some have metal pipes. Others have throwing stars and butcher knives. They're ready to do some damage. And
There's just an army of people behind him, it looks like.
yeah, and they charge him. And in one move with his staff, he dispatches 5 men.
What do you think of the way when those people are drawn with like their eyes bulging out and their tongue like sticking all the way out? We saw that when the guy got whacked by the broom in the last issue. And I just cannot stand the way that looks. I don't know what cartoon it makes me think of, but it makes me think of something that I just don't like.
It's pretty goofy. He hits him in the throat with his staff, and their eyes literally like bulge out of their head, and their tongue is hanging out like he just knocked them out of their mouths.
It's like I, it's kind of reminding me of Futurama, but not not. I don't think that that's right because Futurama's great.
You
um,
like art that's good.
yeah, I know we've said it before, but yeah, but I don't
You
know. Maybe
upset
it's
one of
something like
our
that.
you upset one of our biggest listeners with that. I got some feedback, and someone said that it hurt their heart to hear Bill
Oh
Sienkiewicz
no!
slander.
Oh, he was the one that looked like the Arkham Asylum from Batman to me. It was
Yeah.
he was the Punisher, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, who said that? Like a listener?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all
It
good.
grew on me.
It grew on you. You did say in the next episode that of all the weird art styles we had seen, that was your favorite.
That's good. I'm glad. Now I feel bad. We got like one comment or something, and it's that.
I thought it
Here,
was funny.
cut that last line out from me. They don't need
I'm,
to know we got one comment.
I'll cut the whole.
Oh, well, you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but
Uh, so, anyways, we get 2 pages of action before any of the goons even lays a hit on Shang. One goon gets lucky and is able to slash him with a knife in the back. And as soon as he does, he's hurt for like a second, and then he disarms that guy and just goes back to fighting. and he gets some more good hits in before someone kicks through his staff and into his stomach, and that knocks Shang to the ground. But he quickly gets up and rips his shirt off.
Superhero moment.
Yep.
I
And
think
so,
we should start. I think we should start, like saying that when the characters have a good superhero moment and they get a good like superhero pose, we should point that out.
well, that's even more like a Bruce Lee pose. Like this feels like it feels like a kung fu movie more than like a something that would happen in a superhero movie.
Yeah, that is true.
One might even say master of kung fu.
Yeah, one might.
And we see someone from off panel says, "Well, no wonder, duh." And we see Spider-Man enter the fight and start taking out goons, and he says, "Well, no wonder you're such a colossal super kung fu fighter. This is what you do every day? This is a typical Saturday night for you? Don't you guys have cable? An Xbox? A book club?" So Spider-Man and Shang-Chi divide and conquer, each one fighting off a different half of the crowd. And eventually Spidey climbs up a flagpole, webs up the whole crowd, and swings Shang-Chi to safety. And Shang asks Spider-Man why he's protecting him. And Peter says that he's not. He explains that the first time he was just swinging by, which is kind of a lie. And this time he was coming to ask for fighting lessons. And Shang-Chi shows Peter one move to counter a punch and then says, "Sadly, that is all I can offer you in return for your generosity. I must leave
Okay,
the city and start anew. Thank you."
so when Spider-Man asks Shang-Chi for help, Shang-Chi says the white ape offers a cup of wine, and then later on he teaches Spidey how to do the punch, and then he says something else about a white ape also. Um he says then he says the white ape and he bows. Sadly, that is all I can offer you in return for your generosity towards me. What does that even mean? I don't know what he's referring to.
So I left it out because it didn't make a lick of sense to me.
That's okay.
But just looking at it now and wildly speculating and then throwing that audio of me speculating up on the internet for other people to base their opinions off of,
Great. Yep. Do it.
I think that's the name of the move because he's got his hand kind of in a funky position,
Oh.
like how maybe an ape would hold a cup of wine. And then he just jabs with it, and that's the move. So I think he's telling Spider-Man, hold your hand like a white ape would hold wine.
Oh. Okay.
But he's not clear about
And
it.
then as he bows, he's like the white ape. Like he's like,
That's it. Ta-da.
yeah, like that's the move. Okay, well that makes more sense than me thinking he was like calling Spider-Man like a stupid white ape person. It's like this
It's
white ape.
it still does. He doesn't know he's white.
That's what I'm like. I don't get this because he wouldn't even know. Yeah,
That's the only
I
thing that
think
makes sense to me. And
y-
if I was in that situation, I don't think it would make sense to me. I think I would just think, what the heck? This guy just called me an ape and punched me.
yeah,
I
I
think
think
that's
that
what
I
Shang is
definitely
trying
think
to
that
say.
you're right. Yeah. Okay.
But
Good.
it speaks to we're done with the issue, so we can just get into it now. It speaks to a bigger problem that this story has, which is just how rushed it is.
Well, now I believe we finished the Chinese fairy tale.
Oh, excuse me. We have the fairy tale that I didn't include in my notes. The prince, and this is part of why I say it's rushed, because this is just exposition for what happens. It's like
I do not think that this fairy tale is woven in nearly as well in this issue as it was in the last one. They did not need to continue including it in this one.
exactly. In the first one, it was cool. In this one, it's a crutch for them to get 3 pages worth of something in when they only have 1 page of space. So they say, The prince stopped the spider from following him and spoke. Please understand, my journey is that of one man, but I want to learn to be more like you, Sir Prince. I want to learn the ways of honor, said the spider. No, you may think you do, but you do not. And with that, the prince walked away, and the spider never saw him again. The end.
I just
So
can't believe that fairy tale syncs up so nicely with the story of Shang-Chi and Spider-Man.
I wonder who wrote it. They should have given proper attribution to the writer.
Yeah. Okay, get into it. You sounded like you had some stuff to say. Zach just took a long, heavy sigh. That didn't come through in the audio.
Hold on.
Well, I can start. You want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay, I said I did think that the artwork kept me out of this a little bit. Especially those panels that were the same because they just seemed goofy and it did come across as you use the word rushed, which is a nicer word than when I was first thinking it. I was like, this seems kind of lazy, but it probably was just rushed, you know.
And to their credit, I will give Bendis this. He was writing Ultimate Spider-Man and also several other books at that time on a monthly basis. So if there was a single project that he had to rush, I would hope it would be this one instead of it coming at the expense of the more important series.
Yeah. But with that being said, I still really liked the Shang-Chi story stuff. I would have loved an issue of Spider-Man going and asking him for help and just him teaching Spider-Man kung fu moves for 22 pages. That's what I was when after Peter and MJ's conversation, I was like, this is going to be awesome. Like Peter's just going to go up and ask him for help as Spider-Man. Like that's a great, everyday friendly neighborhood Spider-Man type of story, I think.
But all of them include really vague proverbs and Shang-Chi actually kicking Spider-Man's ass.
That wait, what? You said they should have had that? Or
yeah, like how he did the white ape. Like he actually hit him with the white ape.
Yeah, he just does that like it was 7 different moves and is just pummeling him.
Yeah.
And then afterwards he's like, "See, are you a better fighter now?" So I still like this. I had some fun with it. I gave it 7.5 out of 10 things to watch on cable.
Because Spider-Man keeps telling them they need to watch cable.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, so what I was going to say about the issue. Have you seen the episode of The Simpsons with Poochie?
No. I don't. I've only seen a handful of Simpsons episodes somehow.
Okay. But you like Futurama?
Yes. Yeah. I know. They're the same guy.
Yeah, usually the pipeline is Simpsons fans then watch Futurama.
When I was a kid, I was not allowed to watch The Simpsons.
Oh, but Futurama was different.
Well, so Futurama came out later when I was kind of like older, and then was like making my own decisions on what to watch on TV. But it was like, I feel like when The Simpsons were really like hopping, it was like I was, I wasn't allowed to watch them.
Okay. Well, I'll give you the quick backstory. There's an annoying character that's introduced in a fictional show on The Simpsons, and the character's name is Poochie, and it's just this dog that's supposed to be like every trend that's in style at that moment, and they make him so cool that he's actually annoying, and like people end up hating him. So at the end of one of the episodes, they just like put a dialogue screen that makes no sense based off of what you just saw, and it said, Poochie then boarded a UFO for his home planet. On the journey, he died. So that they don't have to ever show Poochie or explain him again.
I think I have seen that like final screen cap before.
The last page of this that was the fairy tale ending. That felt like on his way back to his home planet, Poochie died
Yeah,
moment.
there's like it kind of bummed me out because it does say like, and they never met again, and it's like, oh well, I had fun with that, so that's too bad.
And I don't know that that's true. I think they do meet again.
Well, I guess not in this Ultimate Marvel team because the series is done,
Well, not team
right?
up, but I think in the main series, I think they might cross paths.
Do they? I wonder if we'll get another ancient Chinese fairy tale.
But anyways, it felt, I don't know how many more ways to say it. It felt rushed. Um and everything
Did
that
you
worked
think the first issue felt rushed?
not as bad. No.
I wonder, do you think that they wrote the entire story and then just cut it down the middle for issue 1, issue 2? Or do you think they
No.
had a full-fledged idea for issue 1 and then they had to come up with the ending to that story in issue 2?
I think they had a full-fledged idea for this 2-issue arc, but they wrote them in 2 separate months because it's a monthly comic series, and for whatever reason, I think they were just doing better on the deadline with the first issue than they were with this
Yeah.
one.
Hmm.
So it's a shame. I feel like the Ultimate Team Up series kind of goes out with a whimper with this issue, and it didn't even have to because the first Shang-Chi issue was kind of good. So, what was the thing
Out of
again?
10 things to watch on cable.
Out of 10 things to watch on cable, I am going to be so mean to this one. I'm going to give it like a 4.5.
Oh, I think that's pretty low. But I might, now that I'm thinking about it a little more, I might move down to a 7 because the whole storyline with Leiko, which is maybe his sister or maybe just somebody else, why would she go all this way just to hire some other gangsters that she knows Shang-Chi can beat up to go and try to get him? Like, wouldn't these whole 2 issues have been building towards them fighting as the final fight, kind of? And instead,
Especially
she's
since
just completely out of it.
yeah, she's in one scene in this issue. She never gets her
Yeah.
comeuppance. He never defeats her. It's
I
like
mean,
the
he doesn't really even know that. Oh, that he does know that it's his dad that's after him because the fish shop owner says,
he knows it's the dad. He doesn't know about her at all.
yeah, okay.
It's
I
kind of
assume
like
that he knows they're like both together, kind of, but I don't know that for
I don't
sure. I
think so
mean,
because he saved her from getting mugged.
oh, that's right. Yeah. So
So
it's
there's
not his
so
sister,
much
obviously, because he would have known if it was his sister.
yeah, so there's so much left up in the air. It feels like how the
Yeah,
Doctor
that's true.
Strange issues ended, and you're like, wait a minute, but what about the dad that's like in limbo
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something?
yeah, that's true. Okay, I'm gonna move down to a 7, but I still had a lot of fun with it.
That's good. I'm glad you had fun. At the end of the day, that's what matters.
Yeah. um, do you want to do a final rating on the team ups as a whole? And then apart from that, so before we get into that, do you want to do a pod episode where we rank the 16 issues, or do you want to just be done with this and go back into the Spider-Man Ultimate series?
I don't know that we need a whole issue for it.
Okay. I kind of thought the same thing. I don't even think we'd, and we don't have to do a 1 through 16 ranking either. But I did rate and I gave kind of a rundown on what I thought of the Marvel Team Up series at the
Well,
very least.
well, let's hear it.
Okay. Well, I kind of want to hear yours first.
Okay. So you prepared one, but you want to put me on the spot first.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to let you mooch off my prepared ideas.
I'll accept that challenge. I can get there with my charisma and
Good looks.
yeah. Good.
That's
I
Flash Thompson over there.
Yeah, as I'm saying I can get through it, I'm like stammering over my words. So that's not
Well,
actually a good start.
then let me go because I mentioned a couple of the other ones, so it'll give you an idea of all of the issues we've read so far.
No, it's cool. Let me at least. I'll say this. So I think the goal of this series, I think it came in with something very particular in mind that it wanted to do, which was we just made this new universe. Let's flesh it out. Let's fill it with characters who don't have their own series yet. And, let's let that be an expansion of Spider-Man's thing. And then it gives us room. If we're just following the Ultimate Spider-Man, it gives us room to actually see what different creative teams look like and how quality can vary, how art can vary, how storytelling can vary, even how Bendis's writing itself can vary because he's jumped between different genres in this series.
Oh, we all remember the Fantastic Four episode
We
issue.
do. But for as mean as we are to Fantastic Four, the ones right before that was the Punisher Daredevil issues that we love so very much. And that was its own genre. And it did it well. So, I think some of them are hits, some of them are misses, but overall, I think it was really smart of them when they were launching the Ultimate Universe. The first thing they did was Ultimate Spider-Man, then they did Ultimate X-Men, and then before they did anything else, they did this series, which I feel like is kind of an umbrella for just what Marvel is in general. It's all of the characters.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's a very good like description of what they were trying to do and what they did.
What have you got?
So I did write this out. I just typed it out real quick like earlier today, and I said generally I liked the team up issues a lot. The only ones I didn't really like, we've kind of talked about the Fantastic Four, the Doctor Strange ones. Did we read all of those in the same day? Those 3 issues, the 1 Fantastic Four and the 2 Doctor Strange issues?
No, Doctor Strange was with the Black Widow issue, and
Okay. Okay. I liked that one. I've kind of forgot about that one, but I like that one.
Fantastic Four was paired with Man Thing and the X-Men.
Ooh, I like the Man Thing one also, and I kind of forgot about that. But I said both of these I did like. Iron Man, I really like that one. The Daredevil and the Punisher, we've talked about. They're fantastic. The
And
Hulk one was okay.
the payoff from the Iron Man scene making its way into the Black Widow one, like
With the action figure, that was tremendous.
that was a full year later.
That is amazing. The Hulk one was okay. I liked the first Wolverine one. I said the X-Men one was okay. And then I said I'm sure I'm forgetting 1 or 2, which we just covered, were Man-Thing and Black Widow, which I really like both of those. So I gave it 13 out of 16 good issues, which is an 81% if you want to do the math on that, which I kind of feel is maybe even a little low because 81%, it's like a C. And I would probably put this in like the B range. So maybe we could go up to like 14 out of 16 or 13 and a half, but I'm sure there were like 3 dud issues that we went through. Specifically the Doctor Strange and the Fantastic Four one, I think stick out.
Yeah, I give it 11 out of 16 good issues. And that's because the Hulk, I feel like that was so simple. There were 2
Yeah.
Hulk issues, and I don't know if there was that much of a difference in quality between them, but I just gave that as 1 good issue. And
I kind
then
of forgot that there were 2 also, and that is not worth 2 good issues.
it didn't need to be, but
Yeah.
whatever. And then Fantastic Four, didn't care for that. The Doctor Strange ones felt rushed, and then Shang-Chi didn't work for me. So,
Okay.
but of those 11 good ones, I'm going to say
There are some really strong ones.
at least 3 are great. And that's the Daredevil Punisher issues, which ironically probably have the least amount of Spider-Man in them of any of these.
And when I was rating, I kind of bumped up for the really good ones where the other ones may have pulled down. So I think I'll stick at my 13 out of 16, which is an 81%. And then you are at a 69% with 11 out of 16.
Nice.
Yes, you're at a nice 69%.
Yeah. I mean, if I was grading on a curve, it would be much higher. I think your score's better, a better indicator of, both the good and the bad. Mine is just a raw metric of the issues
The
overall.
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. So, one other common thread that these issues got was some really creative ways of doing exposition and story. This could kind of be a masterclass of any like telling, not showing. They say you always want to show, not tell, but sometimes you can't do that. And this got some really creative ways to get the story on paper without it filling up panel space because they were rushing to, give you backstory on these characters. Whether that's Peter giving a presentation about Tony
Yeah.
Stark or whether it's ancient Chinese fairy tale.
Those are the two that come to mind immediately. Are the first one we did, which was Tony Stark, I think, and then the first Shang-Chi was really good. I think, like introducing us that way.
Those were your favorites?
Those were my favorites. The Fantastic Four one like had its moments where it was funny when she was going through the presentation, like when the computer knew that he had his powers. And, that's a good way to intro the Fantastic Four and the Baxter building because it's just like, I know I said it in that episode, but they're just numb to all the superhero stuff. It doesn't matter to them. They're just like, yeah, you're hiding powers clearly. You can't use them when you're here. And Peter's just like freaking out. But then when the woman started doing her presentation, that wasn't as good, I didn't think. And I don't really remember the Doctor Strange one was.
I think it was kind of similar to the fairy tale. It was just like an ancient retelling of his
Was it?
deal. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was clever how the Black Widow one was an open dossier on her that like had her, you know,
Oh, yeah.
name and height and weight and her story and background and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I liked the one in the Man Thing and Lizard episode where Kurt
Oh,
Connors
the
is
letters.
writing letters and then Peter is simultaneously writing an email.
That was not my favorite,
I know.
like exposition way, but but it was still good. I like the lizard man thing issue.
Yeah. I just think it's interesting that all of them find such different ways to do that. And obviously some work better than others, but for
Yeah,
when they say that it's a rule to show don't tell, and here we got at least, 7 or 8 examples of Bendis breaking that rule and it works sometimes. It's at least worth noting.
yeah, and on that same note, like it shows how difficult it is to always write like great issues. And even when I sit here and like complain about the artwork or the issue or the writing or anything like that, it doesn't even need to be said, but I'll say it anyways. It's still 1,000 times better than anything I could put on paper. So it's all like, it's all great, I think. It's just like criticism of some things, but it's still excellent.
Even the Fantastic 4-year-olds.
I knew Zach was. Yes, even the Fantastic 4-year-olds were better than I could draw.
Yeah. Do we have anything else that we want to say about that? It feels like we're like
I think we can put a bow on it.
it feels very final. It feels like we're at a funeral for this series.
Well, we get back into normal Spider-Man next week, which will be fun.
Yep. For as much as it was kind of interesting seeing variations, from issue to issue with this, it will be cool to get back to everything looking and sounding the same and telling the same story.
Yeah, I agree. All right. See ya Ultimate Team Up Marvel.
Get you on the flip side when Jonathan Hickman brings you back.
Oh, that'll be cool.
I don't know that he will.
That'd be fun though.
It would be interesting.
So what else do we have? Do we have anything for today? My volleyball team that I'm coaching, 6th grade boys, the A team. This is interesting. Something interesting. We are starting our postseason tournament tomorrow. So wish us luck, even though the game will have already happened by the time this comes out.
Well, I'll wish you luck.
Thank you.
What is it, like single elimination?
Yes, it is. Well, it's best out of 3. So the games are best out of 3, but then it's like single elimination. You know, it's a match is best out of 3. And the team we play is the team we played in our first game of the regular season, who beat us 2-1. And we have gotten so much better since then, but I'm sure they have also gotten better since the first week of the season. So hopefully they haven't, but
I like your odds. Your kids are hungry.
I think so too. I think so too.
It's like
I'm
Rocky
nervous.
2.
Yeah.
Always bet in the rematch on the scrappy underdog that just barely lost.
That's what I'm hoping. So that's pretty interesting. And I think all of our Ultimate Marvel news is insanely interesting.
Yes.
Yes.
I got I don't know if you're starting to become known as like the Spider-Man guy in your circles.
I'm not.
That's funny.
I'm not.
I probably talk about it too much then. I got gifted this.
Oh my gosh, that is phenomenal. Zach is holding up a J. Jonah Jameson Marvel Funko Pop, and he's in the most perfect pose I could imagine from a J. What's the paper say? He's holding up a newspaper also.
It says Spider-Man, threat or menace, and he's got a clenched fist.
And you can tell he's saying, I need pictures of Spider-Man.
It's great. I love it.
I gotta like have a lozenge before I do my J. Jonah Jameson voice.
Yeah. You weren't cut out for this this newspaper publisher life.
I wasn't.
Too much yelling. You're not that angry of a guy.
Well, that's great. Maybe I need to talk about Spider-Man more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or at least the podcast that you do about him.
I probably do. I have started to I've started to network a little bit, I guess we can call it.
Yeah, get that word of mouth out there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying slowly but surely. I don't want to come on too strong, you know.
Right.
Let people find it themselves. Let my mom find it herself. She's always Googling Spider-Man podcasts.
Won't she be surprised when she realizes she recognizes that voice?
Yeah. Wow, I'd love to see her face.
I don't think we've ever talked about this or addressed this, but so we're like the only current Ultimate Spider-Man podcast. There actually was one in the very early days of podcasts that I've found, and their hosts were also named Zach and John.
No, they were not.
Isn't that crazy?
Fibbing.
No, I'm not. So
dude, we need to try to
find these
get
people.
them on an episode. Yeah.
I haven't really listened to it. I found it at one point in time and I was like, that's kind of funny, but I don't want to listen to it because I don't want whatever they say or their takes to influence mine. And then I subconsciously, steal from them.
That's a good call. But it would be fun to have them on and to do some sort.
That would be funny.
So funny that their names are Zach and John.
I really hope if they find out about us, they're not like, hey, they stole our thing. But to be fair, there's 1,000,001 X-Men podcasts. And I know because I listen to them.
Yeah.
There's not another Ultimate Spider-Man podcast. And this was the most read comic on Marvel Unlimited last year. So, and their thing ended like 10 years ago. So I figured it's fair game. We
Well,
need
could
some fresh
this be
blood.
like us in the future or from the past?
What if we're
Is
like,
that too crazy to say?
we're Time Lords?
I mean, we are doing something about like the multiverse kind of or something, you know.
It's the second.
Comic books, right?
Yeah. They're the main Marvel Universe Ultimate Spider-Man podcasters. We're the Ultimate
Yeah.
Universe
Okay,
Ultimate Spider-Man
I
podcasters.
like I like that. Well, Zach, I think for next week you should try to see Ant-Man and the Wasp. So we can at least try to talk about it while there's still some relevance.
Dude, I saw like they had the steepest drop off in like weekend 1
No, I thought it was
viewers to
good.
weekend
I
2
thought it was
viewers.
good.
I'm just saying it might not even be in theaters anymore by the time we talk about it, even if I get on it pronto. It's
Uh,
it's like flopping by Marvel movie standards.
I liked it. It had its problems, but it was absolutely better than Thor: Love and Thunder.
Well,
And I would say it
that's a
was
low bar.
yeah, I know. I think it's probably the best out of all of the like recent Marvel stuff, I think.
I'm definitely
Black
gonna
Panther was
watch
good,
it.
but
It's not like a menu where I'm gonna say I'm gonna watch it and then like not get around to it.
yeah.
I just don't know that it'll be this week.
Okay, that's fair. We'll watch. It'll come on Disney Plus soon enough. So
I didn't mean to do that with Black Panther, but that's what ended up happening.
Well, you have anything else?
No, I think that's about it.
Neither do I. This was fun. What are we doing next week?
Yep, next week, obviously, we're back in the main series. We will be reading Ultimate Spider-Man issues 22 through 24.
22 through 24. Do you want to give a tease on who we're going to be like what villains we might be going up against?
He may or may not be green.
Oh, I like that tease. That could be a lot of different people.
Yeah, green's a pretty villainous color.
Yeah. Okay, I'm excited. All right, well, thank you to Ian Hickey for our music and Alyssa Seaman for our artwork. And you can find us on Instagram at First Read Podcast. So swing on by and leave us a comment. And we'll see you next week, webheads. Bye.